To another episode of Panakal, podcast for geeks, a show about good friends hanging out, talking about the things we all love. And that took way too long for us to go live. Apparently, so you guys know how Twitch has hashtags that they select for you initially, and now we have hashtags that we can actually type in. So I typed in like podcast, and I typed in streaming and all that, but I typed in bullshit because I figured we're gonna be bullshitting on this call, and
you can't say bad words on Twitch.
And apparently it wouldn't approve it. So, well, I'm glad I saw that.
Their eyeballs assaulted.
I mean, I'm sure people hear worse on TikTok.
Yeah. I was just looking in the little thing, and I realized if I do this is what I call my Kurt Cobain hair. My Kurt Cobain hair.
Yeah, you look like a punk rocker, goth punk rocker.
Thank you.
I think all audio is working as far as I can tell.
So today we're just talking about whatever, yeah?
We're trying to fill the space, yeah. I think you and I are talking about this before. Sometimes we have these dead weeks where we had a guest at the top of the week, but we might not do a show next week. So we want to make sure we're consistently trying to hit every week if we can. And we normally go
a dead
Fridays.
weeker?
Well,
more punk than being a dead weeker.
So since our last podcast, what have you been up to? Anything new, like in terms of reading or playing games or what have you?
I got this cool new device. I showed it in our private Discord with everyone. It's called I can't never remember what it's called. An RG35XX. It's fully,
right, yes.
So you gotta it comes loaded with all these games, and it's probably I don't know how they're getting away with it, but hey, here we are. It has Neo Geo games, Atari games, Nintendo games, Game Boy Advance, you name it, it's on here. It's even got arcade games on it. But it comes with some janky SD cards, so you have to wipe the whole thing, put a new OS in called Garlic OS, and then supposedly that helps the battery life too, which I haven't done yet because it works right out of the box, and I don't have time to be... I'm kind of... if I mess with this, it might kill the system. And then I'm just sitting with a brick. So I haven't touched the OS yet, but it was recommended to me by another friend of ours, Andrew Thompson, and I saw it and I was like, "What is?" I thought it was a new Game Boy because it looks like a little Game Boy.
It does, yeah.
Right?
It looks like a Game Boy Color or whatever.
But it's got I mean, the screen is great. It's got these extra buttons on the back. I haven't found any games that use these yet. Guessing
Super NES.
Super Nintendo. Yeah, exactly. But it's running, I played Bad Dudes on here. I played TMNT on here. I played Dungeons and Dragons on here, which is great. And anyone who likes old school nostalgic games, it's kind of worth it for $70. So this would be the cool thing I'm messing with all week.
That's awesome. How about you, Tawny? Done anything neat? Seen anything neat?
Always. I just migrated my website from Squarespace to Shopify.
Oh, yeah. We do want to ask you about that today, for sure.
Luckily, it didn't take as long as it takes some people to get the domain transfer done, but I think it's because I had an issue where I wasn't getting the verification email, so I was on chat with everybody, and so I think they sort of pushed it through faster because of that. But pro tip, when you're transferring a domain, don't make the new website's contact email address the domain email. So my domain is tawnyfritz.com, and my official email address is info@tawnyfritz.com. That's kind of the default one. So I set that on Shopify's end, right? Well, then when I initiated the transfer and it was not working, it wasn't Squarespace's domain yet anymore, but Shopify needed to verify that I owned it. They were trying to do that through that email address, but that wasn't going through because the domain wasn't active anymore. So I had to go through all these hoops, and I finally figured out that I think what had happened was I had paid for Google Workspace, G Suite or whatever through Squarespace, they're a reseller or whatever. And so it was connected to that domain. So what I had to do was go through, I disconnected it, canceled it from Squarespace, and then just restarted it straight with Google. It just goes through Google now. And then I was able to get emails, or I was able to send emails, but I couldn't get them. And then so I had to have Squarespace cancel that they own the domain completely, and he couldn't even cancel it. Like he was like I was on chat with support, and he was like, it won't let me cancel it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I have
it's like
all
you
of these
own the
weird...
domain.
Yeah, I know. It was like, I mean, even support was like, I don't know. But I just had all these like weird roadblocks that was just testing me. But it finally went through, and then now the site seems to be live and seems to be working. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not ready yet. Because I expected there to be like a time between, but it's fine. I've got a couple of the prints listed on there, and one thing I like too is like to integrate Printful, which I like. Is it Printful? Yeah, Printful. They do like apparel and like, you know, drinkware and stuff like that. To integrate it into Shopify is so easy. Whereas like I feel like Squarespace is perfect if you have like a service-based business, like a lawyer, or like, you know, some kind of like consultant type thing. But if you have like an online store, it's a little clunkier, and it doesn't have as much available in like the basic business to integrate in. Whereas Shopify has like way more like analytics and like, you know, funneling and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I was curious about it because it looked like, I will talk about it more in a moment after I go over like what I've been reading recently as well. But it looks like Shopify just in general has way more features for the same price point that you would for like business at Squarespace. Because I know like, we all know Squarespace and their various tiers that kind of just paywall a lot of things behind different but I do want to talk. I would love to talk about that more in a moment. Something I was going to bring it up last podcast, but I found that like neat color gamut app that I wanted to mention. But I've actually been rereading a comic book mini series called Godzilla: Half Century War.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, by James Stocka. Have you ever, or Stocco? I'm not really sure how his name's pronounced. I first found his work through a friend of mine, and he turned me on to this comic book that this guy produced. He produced like a graphic novel called Orc Stain, and it's like really trippy visuals, really like super detailed oriented, like really lush colors and stuff. And ever since then I'm like, oh man, this guy's awesome. And this miniseries is like, I want to say it's like 10 years old or so at this point.
I've never read a Godzilla comic.
Oh, this is fantastic. So like, this is really neat. It's 5 issues. I'm pretty sure it's collected now at this point, but it's 5 issues, and it starts in 1954, and each issue is like a 10-year time jump.
Sure.
And it's the story of one guy over the course of like 50 years and his like interactions and dealings with like trying to manage Godzilla, and more or less just going along for the ride kind of thing.
Is it like that doctor in the movie?
But like, so like it starts 1954 with the original Godzilla attacking, and it's this guy that he's just like a grunt in like the Japan defense self-defense force or whatever.
Sure.
And he's like, I've never seen this thing. I don't know what this is. And then the first issue ends like the way that the Godzilla movie ends, where I forget the doctor's name, but the doctor deploys the oxygen bomb and kills Godzilla. Then the next issue is like 10 years down the road, and it's like, oh no, this is the next Godzilla. He came back. We have to deal with this one now.
It's a different Godzilla each time, or it's the same one?
It's a different one, because remember, the first one was killed in the first movie, and then
the next Godzilla.
Oh man, so like around. I'll wrap this up so we can go get onto other stuff besides just Godzilla. But so I went on like a big binge of like the Godzilla movies during COVID and everything.
Sure.
Because HBO has like all of the I think they're called the Heisei era. It's basically the movies from 1954 up to like 1972 is that batch of them. They're all on HBO.
Okay.
And I just went through all of those, and that pretty much takes you up all the way until it turns into like the 1980s Godzilla, which is like a whole separate era. different licensing and everything, whatever. But yeah, no, it's a huge thing. So like Godzilla dies, he is killed in the first one, and then the second movie they're like, oh, someone must have realized like, ooh, Godzilla's really good. We probably shouldn't have killed him. We'll have his son. So
Right.
it's just someone else. It's like just another Godzilla that they're like, oh my god, there's two of them now.
Right.
It kind of goes like that. Like every other movie, they kill Godzilla for sure, or he walks away. I think like towards the end, it's basically the same Godzilla that's been on for like decades at that point.
Right. I mean, that's why the new ones are like, this guy's a god. He keeps coming back to save us. Blah, blah, blah.
Pretty much. Yeah. No, it was. Yeah. In the original one, he was just like a one-off that they had no idea what to do with him, and then they killed him. And after that, Toho was like, "Oh, actually, we may have killed our golden goose too soon. Let's bring him back."
People do that, man.
Yeah, no, highly recommend though. If you can run down either old issues of it in your comic book store, or if you could find just a collected edition, definitely recommend reading. It's an awesome series. But yeah, no, I was curious about. I'm glad that Alan got you on, Tawny, because I was actually really curious to hear about like your Shopify transfer and everything. Because like I heard, I think from you and from a few other people, like like some people dancing around like switching over to Shopify, and like I know I've talked with Alan a bunch about it too. Just in general, everyone seems to be like, yeah, Shopify is a better thing overall for like online selling. So like, what are some like the features that you're like, oh, okay, like I didn't have this before with Squarespace, but now I have it.
Bulk editing is a big one that is going to be
we're
pretty
talking
cool
about
in the
that
future.
yesterday.
Oh man,
yep.
Yeah.
Bulk editing. It just the like ease of finding like just like the analytics and like what like there's you can add apps and stuff to it. So like there's like SEO apps that like you'll be in like your product or whatever, and it'll have like on the side it'll be like, you know, type in some keywords and then it'll like help you figure out, and it'll like put that stuff in the like site SEO or whatever, because I don't know anything about that stuff. So like I feel like my site's SEO was super weak because I don't know anything about it, but there's apps for that. And then like you can integrate, like I said, you can integrate Printful, you can integrate like Etsy and stuff like that. There's like product description generators and things that are pretty cool. I just started like tinkering with it a couple days ago. Like yesterday the transfer like seemed to go through completely, and before that it was just like struggling to get it to transfer over.
I mean, I was telling Andrew, I was reading about you can link multiple stores into like one store, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think that would be nice. It's like one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah, and you can like, you know, if you do drop shipping or whatever, like it's got all that stuff that you can like integrate into it. It's just so comprehensive at the basic tier. Like I'm on the basic tier, so it's I know that like tiers and stuff like it's fine or whatever. I like when it's a tier like, okay, well, you know, you can only have this many email addresses, or you know, with newsletter stuff, it's like up to this number of subscribers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then beyond that, like you don't need these features until you get to this point, so we're not going to make you pay for it. Whereas like Squarespace, it was like, how do I grow more when like the thing that I need is behind a paywall? Right. That like I'm not ready to buy the commerce plan yet. And then it was like,
and that commerce plan is so fucking expensive.
It's so expensive, and I'm just not ready for that yet. Like I don't have the customer base for that yet. I'm still so small, and like my online store is basically non-existent. So like, how do I get to that point without the tools that I need to get to that point?
I mean,
what?
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say Squarespace. I left Squarespace for Shopify when they limited how many items I could have in my store. Like apparently,
I didn't know that was a thing because I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I capped out, and they were like, "You need to pay for the next tier if you want to add more items." And I was just like, "Bye." Like,
yeah.
I'm like,
I always hear people talk about like the shopping aspect of it, but how is the setting up the website like for the non-shop like store aspects of it, like saying like for setting up for your portfolio and all that? How was that? Was it pretty
So
pretty
there's like,
robust or?
yeah, I mean, it's decent. Like you can, from what I can tell, and I haven't really messed with that yet because I was more concerned with like just getting the shop up before like a portfolio. Just because like I just did that this week. But from what I can tell, like you can put like blog pages. So like you could easily just have a page that's technically a blog, but like it doesn't say that, and then like that's where all your art is, like, and you can have like
Okay.
blocks that are on every page, and so like I know someone who has like a little blurb about like Patreon and what you get from Patreon on every single page, even when it's, like their portfolio or whatever. And so you can
they have
even
it in
like
like the header or something, yeah.
But it's not even a header, it's just like there. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, so like there's like blog, like you can have your about page, which I already have set up. There's a contact page. You can have like blog pages, and I haven't done too much with it, so I don't know if there's like if you can have only so many or what, how that works. But and then the way, like, what I like for just setting things up as far as organization, whether it's the store or whatever, is like nesting things under. So like for a drop down menu, so freaking easy. You make the page or whatever the thing is, and then you just like move it up there. It goes under this instead of like going into it and then like having to figure out like, okay, but how do I nest it under here? Is it like a category or whatever? You just go bloop, and then there it is under the drop down menu.
Oh, cool.
Very user friendly.
User friendly is key for some of this stuff, I think. I don't know. I haven't 100% moved everything over Shopify yet, other than my store. But I'm waiting to see if your idea of portfolio being there and stuff works. Then I might just jump ship.
I'm curious to hear like both your thoughts. Like obviously, it's too early since you guys both have like either in the process of moving or you just moved it, so you haven't had a chance to play with it too much. But like how it handles coupons and discounts and all that once you finally get into working with that, because something I would love to.
I do have a discount already, and I can say that like one thing that bugged me about Squarespace was to be able to do like limited, like you can only use this discount once or whatever, which I don't care. Like I had a conversation with someone one time where like I send a postcard with every order that says, get 10% off your next order. And they were like, well, how do you like keep them from using that again? Personally, I don't care. If you come back every single time, you're going to get that anyway. You're going to get it again anyway. So that I don't care about. But if you did have something, But like, let's say you did have like a major discount for something they do, like, sign up and you get 25% off or something, you know what I mean? And you want it to only be used once. Like Squarespace, that was in the commerce or higher plan, and I couldn't do that.
Commerce,
yeah. So there's definitely, from what I can tell, just at a glance with the one discount I've set up, there's a lot more options.
Something I like, I've always toyed with in my head, but Squarespace, it's, you have to pay like either, I'm pretty sure to access this kind of feature, you have to pay the like advanced commerce option. So I'm not sure if like it's something I'm sure it's something that's in Shopify as well. But like an abandoned cart discount. So like what it'll be is like
that's in Shopify. Like
both of them have it, but with Squarespace you have to pay more.
Pay for it. So
from what I can see, and I haven't tinkered with it yet, but it's there, and it doesn't. On Squarespace it'll have it there where you can see it, but then it's got like the little thing that tells you like there is an abandoned cart like setup thing over on Shopify that I just haven't clicked yet, but I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, that it's available on the basic plan.
So I heard with Shopify you should be able to email now. There's a line there like, do you want to do this or not? But you should be able to email the customer and say something like, hey, I noticed you didn't finish your order. Would 10%
I don't like
discount?
getting those emails personally.
Right.
So I probably won't do that, but I do like being able to see it, because then I can see like, okay, they put this in their cart and then they abandon it. You know what I mean? Like, but I tend to do that too. Like I'll put stuff in a cart and then come back later, but like I will get salty if I put something in a cart and then I'm like, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to come back and get it later. And then I get email after email about it. I won't buy it.
That's fair. I mean, that's going to happen,
Don't tell me what to do. Yeah, but I do I don't mind people, like I don't mind the seller being able to see that like I did put that in there and then I left or whatever. So I like that I might be able to see that and know what people are putting in their carts, but then not And then I can go into that thing and be like, okay, what is it about this? They're like not pulling the trigger on it.
Exactly.
And sometimes it might just be like me, like I'm just like, I can't right now, but I will. I don't want to forget what I wanted or whatever, but yeah,
there was
I don't know.
Tying into like email marketing, I was listening to a podcast that's done by Mark Zug, and he had on one of his friends that does like a lot of email marketing stuff, and he was talking about how I think it's something you could do with Shopify. He was rattling off a bunch of different things or whatever, so it's hard to keep track of like which one does what. But he was talking about like the abandoned cart thing, and he was saying like what he does. This is Mark Zug's guest that he had on, not Mark himself. But he was like, what he does is like, you have an abandoned cart thing, and it'll send out, say after X amount of time, it'll send out one email to be like, hey, you forgot these things. Would you like to buy them or whatever? If nothing happens with that, then he has it set to eventually send out a second email. Like it doesn't keep pestering. It's just those two emails. But the second email is kind of like, all right, here's like 5% off or whatever. Your shopping cart
I wouldn't
thing.
mind that. Yeah.
Yeah, like where it's just like he's just like it's an advanced way of like enticing a person, like if they did abandon the cart for whatever reason, like just kind of like take another look at it and be like, well, I do have that 5% now or something. Like maybe I should take a look at this again.
Like I would probably end up going ahead and getting. Interestingly enough, about email marketing, the whole thing that got me to just go ahead and switch to Shopify was I wanted to leave MailChimp. It just is. It is what it is. But I wanted to switch over to, I don't know how to say it, Klaviyo. I don't know.
Klaviyo.
Yeah. So I wanted to switch over to Klaviyo, and to integrate Klaviyo into Squarespace, you have to get into like the HTML and stuff. Yes. Like I was like,
really?
No. Yeah. So Shopify is just like click, and then it just you design your little pop-up thing, and then it just goes over there.
Oh, done. You know what? Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any Gumroad products at all, Tawny, or anything that's like outside of your main shop?
I have in the past, and there is a way that you can connect that on
you connect Shopify. Everything in Shopify, man.
Yeah,
that was basically my question. Was like, how hard is it to connect that up? Because with Squarespace,
it's just an app. It's like an app that and you tell it where to go or whatever, and there it is.
Yeah, Squarespace is consistently losing the connection. Like even when I had
that was the thing with MailChimp. It was like people would be like, "Oh, I signed up for your newsletter like ages ago. I never got it because it doesn't send you like a notification or anything that your storage is like broken." Like if you do anything I feel like, I don't know if it's on MailChimp's end or Squarespace's end, both of those just they don't work as well as they could. And it's like someone would sign up through Squarespace and I just wouldn't get their email, like it just wouldn't do it. And then I'd go in there and it's like, oh, it doesn't have like the storage or whatever wasn't connected anymore. And it's like, why? Whereas like if you go in Klaviyo, you can see if like an app is like not connected, like it's right there. Whereas like it's not like that in Squarespace. I had to like magically know that people weren't getting signed up for my newsletter.
MailChimp, I wondered, so like not that long ago, maybe within the past 3 to 4 years, they got bought by Intuit, the makers of TurboTax and all that.
Okay, yeah.
That and like I've honestly wondered like since then is like, has there been like a weird change in quality? There's been a few things.
Hey, you want to talk about Intuit? You know what happened to me in the last couple of weeks with my business account? Those fuckers. That Intuit, I think, is trying a lot of new things. They're not testing the market before they do it. They're just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And shit's broken. So.
But anyway, yeah. So, I figured if I was going to make a switch, like with newsletter and website, it should be now because I don't have any major shows coming up. I've got the first coloring book is out, and then I'm working on the second one, and I just got iridescent foil prints of the Morrigan in, and I didn't want to be doing this in the middle of like getting order, and I don't get a lot of online orders, but I'm going to start like more newsletters and like doing a little bit more email marketing because of the dumpster fire that social media is anymore, because I truly believe social media is dying on all platforms, which is fine. Who knows what is good and what is bad.
I would not miss it.
I mean, it's the only way some of us were marketing, man, and now it's kind of like
I know, and so we have to find new ways, and we have to kind of revert back to some of the old school ways of doing the marketing. So email is going to be huge, and I mean, literally every successful creator I have ever listened to has said email newsletters is their big thing. And to me, I actually like the idea of having a more direct connection, so that like a direct connection that allows me to talk about my work or what I'm doing in a way that doesn't like, and they can always email back. Like, it's not like there's no connection back, but like with socials, it's like, and they've opted in, right? So like they've chosen to hear what I have to say about my art, about my work, about my process. Whereas like if I go on Twitter, which I have always loved Twitter before all the crap that's gone down, it was still always like you never knew who was going to pop up, and I've never been afraid of that, but like that is an aspect that some people consider. Whereas like in the newsletter, it's like you can be a little more intimate, you can be a little bit more vulnerable, and like talk more about things that you might not on socials because of how hostile social media is. And that's just the thing. That's psychologically, social media is hostile because of the way that our brains. I could get into the psychology of it, but whereas a newsletter is like a more one-on-one connection with that person, even though you're sending it out to like 200, 300 people, but like it's one-on-one in that inbox. Right. And then I can send out, like my Discord link, and it's like people can join my Discord for my newsletter, and it's like, okay, well, I kind of know where they came from,
I mean, so you're directly sending it to your fan base. That's the whole point.
And they want to get it, and so I've been wanting to get into that, and have more of that connection with people who like my work, other than like, it is what it is. Like with algorithms, it's like literally someone who has been like a follower of mine from like the jump. Like this dude has collected everything, like any print that comes out, he's like mine, He won't see my stuff on socials. He interacts with everything he does see, but he still won't see it. And that's just, it's the algorithm, right? Like, so we're constantly fighting against that. Whereas like with a newsletter, it's like, here is everything I want you to see in your inbox. Here you go.
Well,
and I don't plan to send out newsletters like a bunch of times. Like, I think I'm gonna do like twice a month tops, because as a receiver, I don't like getting
I only do once a month.
Newsletters a week, from someone. I will unsubscribe. That's too much. Like I
do once a month. I even tell people when they sign up at the shows, I say, just so you know, I only email once a month.
Yeah, like twice a month. I might you might get more if like there's a Kickstarter I'm getting ready to launch. Like I might, you'll get one a week or something like that. But I plan on just having them sent out. Like, it's going to be like, here's what's going on. Here's what's new. Here's what I've been thinking about. Here's what I've been reading, what I've been listening to. Because I've been listening to music a lot more lately than I have over the last few years. Here's how obsessed I am with the Foo Fighters.
So that's, I was going to say, what have you been listening to? Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters. No, whatever Spotify puts in the daily mix.
See, they get that wrong for me sometimes, though. When Spotify's like, hey, we made this playlist just for you, and I'm like, cool. And then it'll be like AFI, maybe some Metallica, and then maybe some like rap music, or like and then something like hip hop, and then all of a sudden it'll throw in some random shit like Over the Rainbow, and you're just like, why? Why is this play?
If it's Over the Rainbow by, oh my god, I cannot believe I just
the Hawaiian singer. But you can't have me up here and then try to bring me down to here, and then and then every once in a while it'll like play. What I've started realizing
I always feel bad for like music algorithms trying to figure out what I want to listen to.
Well, what's happening here is I sorted out part of what's happening here is when all the Google Homes are connected to my account. So like unless Nance speaks into it. If she says play this song, it'll play from her account and remembers because it knows her voice. But if my kid asks for something like freaking Trolls or she plays a lot of Katy Perry and now Baby Metal. So Baby Metal I'm cool with. The Katy Perry coming up my mix is like, I don't listen to Katy Perry. But I realize what it's doing is Spotify is like, he obviously likes this kind of music. What is that considered? Pop? So it starts putting pop music into my mix, and I couldn't figure out what it was until recently, but it's super annoying. So I don't listen to the "Hey, we made this just for you" anymore because I'm like, I don't want to get
Well, and I've been getting back into
it blindsides me, man. Just like, damn.
I've been trying to get back into like because like there were like a number of years that I didn't listen to a lot of music because I didn't want to feel things.
Sure, yeah, music will make you feel things.
Yeah, but I listen to I have the book. I have the hardcover of Dave Grohl's Storyteller. So if we're talking about books, like, please read this book. It's really, or listen to it. It's read by Dave Grohl if you listen to it. But I listen to it because I've gotten to a point where like I can't. I have to listen to audiobooks. I haven't been able to like sit down and read lately. So I listened to it while I was working on some of the pages for the next coloring book. And then it just got me wanting to get back to the music that like I listened to, not like as a teen, obviously. Like my favorite band has always been like Nirvana, and then Foo Fighters and stuff like that. But so I've been going back and listening to stuff I listened to as a teen, but also like the soundtrack of like my youth, basically. Like my mom had good taste in music. Like there was something like a lot of things we didn't get along about, but like my mom listened to like the Beatles, and like my dad listened to like Leonard Skinner and like stuff like that, which is hilarious because he was a deacon of a Southern Baptist church, but he was like Leonard Skinner
privately a Skinner fan.
Yeah, it's like, Dad, come on, let your true self out. Anyway, but so I've been going back and listening to a lot more of that, and I feel like just over the years I lost like me, like who I really was, like at my core. Like I've always been super authentic to who I am, but like it was mostly whatever I was like kind of into at that time. And I don't know if it's like therapy or medication or what, but like I've been trying to get back to that person that I am, like deep in my core. And a big part of that is like rock music. Which I feel like kind of comes through in my work too. Like I've always been like, my work's always been kind of confrontational and challenging in like emotional ways, and high contrast and stuff like that. And I've never wanted to be soft and muted. So I think that's the rock side of me. So I've been listening to a lot more of that stuff lately.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Foo Fighters have a new album coming out. I'm excited.
I would like to hear a new album from them because
I think it's hilarious. Some of the people on Twitter who were like, "Oh my God, it's too soon. How if you're going to move on this quickly after Sweet Taylor Hawkins died, did not understand the origin of the Foo Fighters."
Right.
Because the Foo Fighters is how Dave Grohl processed trauma from Kurt. So anyway. Music,
people
skills,
don't.
And creating, and that's the thing is like, and how much of my work like deals with. I think that's why I've always connected with like Nirvana and Foo Fighters so much, is because I can kind of pick up on that in their music of like how like music can help you process things like that, and that's why like a lot of my work has to do with like like death and grief and loss and these like hard emotions that we all go through, and that's why I've always like resonated with the rock music.
I'm old school punk, man. People think I listen to a lot of synthwave music because of my artwork. I'm like, I like synthwave.
I have a feeling I listen to way more synth than you.
Yes, probably. It's not my like synthwave is like my. It's usually what I listen to at night if I'm like reading my comics or whenever I'm working on when I'm working on the initial starts of my pieces. I'll listen to that kind of music because it's mellow enough for me to work. But when I'm in the coloring steps, I listen to the music I like, which is punk. I grew up on...
My daughter has somehow inherited my adult music tastes. So she has a playlist on my phone that she likes to listen to, and it's all songs that she's picked out from my songs. So the playlist is a combination of a lot of synth stuff that I listen to. Not like chill synth stuff like you, it sounds like, Alan. It's more stuff that's like
mine's
very reminiscent of like Doom.
Like, oh God, you're listening to like the heavy, what do they call that? Retro
it's like
fusion?
it's like Kind of, or like what Carpenter Brute does and stuff.
I
It's like
like
very
Carpenter Brute, but I'm not going to
that.
listen to that for an hour.
So she has a lot of that on the playlist, and then she has things like she has 2 Metallica songs on there, Lux Eterna, which is from their new album, which is actually really good.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's a good song, and the rest of the album is pretty good. Like first time in a long time, I was like, wow, Metallica. And she also has Master of Puppets on there, and then she has a lot of Ghost, which I'm
really
okay with.
I just heard about this band like 2 months ago. They're actually not bad.
She loves 2 songs in particular. One, which is called Dance Macabre, that she sings along to, which is insane. That she's listened to so many times that she actually knows the lyrics to this 4-year-old girl. And that one's okay. The other one that she likes to listen to is called The 20s, which is a good song. However, it has the word motherfucker in it.
Right.
Time she plays it, I always have to time it so I can mute it when that word comes on, and then turn the volume back up. I'm like, Marcella, this is
never did that.
a bad word. Yeah.
We taught our kid that there's a time and a place, and if you get caught cussing at school, then I can't help you.
Yeah, my kid hasn't picked up any of the swears yet. Like,
I mean, we listen we'll only listen to like Eminem and stuff too. So,
but I mean, you know, like how Andrew was saying, his kid memorized these lyrics. My kids memorized a lot of baby metal, and it's all Japanese. So, you know, initially I was like, it's like cool. She remembered all these lyrics, but I'm like, they're just words to her or sounds, right? Because it's not even things she's not out here speaking Japanese to anybody later. But I'm like, I don't even know the lyrics to that song. Good job. Nelson said, obviously we have pointed out the Beatles shirt. Oh yeah, you're wearing a Beatles shirt.
Yeah.
So like that's my dad. When I grew up, my dad used to listen to a lot of like Zeppelin. Well, my dad listened to like Beatles, Zeppelin, CCR, like old school rock bands, and I grew up. I have all those records. And one time he heard me listening to Zeppelin. He was like, "What is this? What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Are you for real? Like, did you like bump your head somewhere?" I'm like, "This is your record, dude. You know, like
this is yours.
I took your collection." So
I was shocked. I asked my dad like 2 weeks ago. I was like, "What's your favorite band?" Like, you know, because do you ever like? We don't really ask our parents like, "What's your favorite?" You know, whatever. So I asked him. He said Metallica, and I was like, "Where was this, Dad? When I was 16 years old?"
I mean, I think people are getting into Metallica. You guys said Metallica, and I remind me that I feel like people are now becoming Metallica fans again after Stranger Things?
Probably. Which, hey, you know.
Which is fine, because this younger generation has never heard Master of Puppets. And it's just
it did remind me. I was like, wow, that's actually a really good album. Because it'd been like years since I listened to it.
I mean, Ride the Lightning, man. That's the best album. Anyone listening can disagree with me.
I'll have to give it a whirl.
But yeah, I mean, I heard it and I was just like, this is cool. But I know a lot of like my cousins and stuff heard it and they were like, this is awesome band, Metallica. And you're like, shut up.
This awesome new band.
Like that guy in the show, I don't remember that character's name, Eddie. I'm like, he didn't write that song, you know, like. But you know, I've actually
whatever it takes to get people into good music, right? Like,
I mean, you know, people are always. I know a lot of people are always mad at them about remember Napster back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, because they sued Napster and it all fell apart, and then they got a bunch of money, and then now we have Spotify, all these other apps that we have now.
Who knows what is good and what is bad?
Yeah, it's spawned from Napster coming into fruition, giving away free music, and all these artists saying we should be paid, right? Like, there's a lot of artists on Spotify. I mean, I pay for it because I'm just like, I can't remember the last time I put a CD in the car.
It's shit though, the amount that they get paid per song. It's like,
I mean, it's like 0.00032 per stream or something. Like, it's absurd. If I like if I like someone and I want them to get more, like, I will just put their song on repeat and like leave my phone.
There was one artist,
Chinchilla's new song.
I wish I could remember his name, but there was one artist that actually tried to game the Spotify system with that. So like you said, Tawny, like you only get paid per stream or whatever. So he made a song as part of his album. Like, the album for the most part is all normal stuff, but then at the end there's a 10-second song at the very end of his album and I forget the name of it. It's a bullshit name that he had on it, and it's literally just 10 seconds of silence. And he's like, if you play that he was like, just put that on repeat before you go to, like
he gets
at
paid.
night. Yeah, just put it on repeat at night when you go to bed, and I'll get paid. And a lot of his fans did that, and it actually worked really well for him until Spotify stepped in.
Of course.
Did he have to give the money back?
No.
Probably not. They probably just made it where you can't do that anymore.
Sure.
It eventually caught wise, like, it longer than you thought. I think it took them about like 2 weeks to eventually come around to be like, huh, this is interesting.
I'm sure they have like a system,
weird.
right? And they're like, why is this dude's bank account climbing? Like, he's got the most hits. He's not even a Grammy winner.
Yeah.
Also,
no, I don't think they took like that hard of a look at it until they realized like he has this 10-second song that's just nothing, and it just plays it and then immediately loops back around if you have it on repeat.
I hate when the silence sound. I hate when people put silence between hidden tracks. Like I love AFI, but there's a LP they have, or EP with the song Halloween, which is a cover by Misfits, which is a great cover. But between that song and then the next hidden song, there's like 4 minutes of silence, and you're like, bro, how'd you expect anyone to find this song? I didn't know that song existed the first time I owned the album, right? But then like when they did Sing the Sorrow, the last song, they play a song, and then there's 2 or 3 minutes of poetry being read to you, and then the hidden track. And I was like, that's a cool way to do it, because you get my attention, right? I don't want to skip a 12-minute track here. I don't know why I thought about that. Also, Nelson said Lennon Ono Double Fantasy best album ever. Nelson, please.
What is it? Sorry, what album?
Lennon Ono Double Fantasy. I can't stand Yoko Ono, but good on you, Nelson. I know Nelson. What? I can give him a hard time. Unappreciated in her time, bro. We're gonna have a talk about this later.
You have no idea. You have no idea what they put that woman through.
No, she
was a scapegoat.
We're not gonna. Everything. I'm not gonna turn this into a Yoko Ono podcast. Back to another topic.
I had a question about the.
Obviously,
market.
That's a sensitive area for Allen, so we'll just move on.
Yes, please.
I had a question about email marketing before, like, then we got on the tangent about music and all that. Something I'm always curious about, like, okay, you just switched from MailChimp to Klaviyo. How, like, is that something where it's like you kind of have to tell all your subscribers ahead of time, like, hey, I'm changing things, so you might get like another email or whatever?
You should be able to
just automatic?
she should be able to just save a CVS file from MailChimp, drop it into Klaviyo, and then just send out a whole new.
Like the only way they notice it is if they look at the footer of the email and it no longer has the MailChimp logo. Ideally,
okay, so
and MailChimp like tends to send stuff to spam all the time.
So I was going to say, speaking of what Andrew just asked, I wonder if I wonder if you need to warn them before you switch, just so their Gmail or whatever knows not to spam Klaviyo.
I don't know, because it still comes from my same email address.
That's true.
It still says it's like from
info
at Tawny Fritz, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I was curious about. I was like, yeah, how do you make a change like that? Because I was under the very naive assumption early on that I was kind of like, yeah, you're locked in. You picked your one, and then that's it. it's like old school marriage.
There's a lot of things
because
that
when you hit 2,000 with MailChimp, they're going to make you pay, and then. Which, again, was fine up until, like, I don't know, a year ago when they changed all their... I told you at DragonCon last year, and I think Nelson was one of the people that messaged me. I was at the show. I sent out an email blast. I sent out one per day. Yes, I believe I do one per day when I'm at these bigger shows. I sent out a blast, and every single email that went to an Android device would not open up the code right. So it's just a tiny image on people's phones, and they couldn't even zoom in on it, because when you try to zoom in, it would pixelate. And it worked fine on Apple devices. It worked fine on the desktops, but multiple friends were messaging me saying, hey, I opened this on my phone and it's not opening up, and there's nothing I could do about it. Like, it already is sent out to, I've got over like 17 or 1800 email addresses, and it already blasted out. So then the next day I was like, all right, well, maybe that was a glitch. I'll send out the next one. And it did it again. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, it might have been something inside of the email, but I used their template, So ever since then, I've been like, I'm going to leave this as soon as I can. And I've been looking at Klaviyo. It's just, I'm kind of on this, like, everything's so new. Like, jumping to something new is like, there's a learning curve. And then there's like, my store is offline right now because I'm moving into Shopify. And I told Tawny about this before. I've had a couple people email me saying, hey, I want to buy this thing from you. Store is not there. And I'm trying to get it up online because I don't want to be like, here's my PayPal. Just send me the money there.
Yeah, and I have heard that sometimes the transfer can take like a couple weeks sometimes. I think mine didn't because I was bugging them about the email situation. But I mean, I feel like it's the kind of thing where like, I mean, and again, I don't have like, I did make a sale the day that I transferred the domain. I was like, God. But I got the email. I got their address before,
right?
Yeah. But there's just, speaking about going back to like how you said that like you had like the naive assumption that like you're set in a certain way, and like there's so many things that I almost feel like I was deconstructing from like this advice that I was given for so long, or like the ways that you do things and you have to do it this way.
This is the way it's done, yeah.
Yeah, this is the way it's done. This is how everybody does it. Everybody has Squarespace. So you have to have Squarespace because it's the best. And it's like, it's the best for some things. It's not the best for what I need. MailChimp, oh, it's the best. It's the best. It may have been, or it might be the best for some people. It's not the best for me. So like, even just like, I Googled like best email marketing, like platforms, because I didn't even know any other ones aside from MailChimp. I was like, what even is out there?
Right.
And then, I talked to a couple people and they're like, oh, I'm using this. And there's like Flowdesk and Klaviyo and, a couple others or whatever. And so I looked at them and I went to a bunch of different, like of the review blogs and like the comparisons and pros and cons. And I was like, okay, Klaviyo sounds like the one that I am going to like vibe with. And so far, so good, and a lot of them too, like some of them are expensive even for like, I only have like 250 subscribers, I think. So I can't pay, $30-$40 a month yet. Like, again, I'm not ready.
Some of them are ridiculous.
So I did need something that was either super affordable or like free to begin with so that I could like build that and get to that point. And then I'm more than willing to pay for like, oh, I have 2,000 subscribers now. You deserve some money for hosting this.
What is Klaviyo's limit on that? Like MailChimp, it's 2,000.
I can't remember. I don't remember.
I guess is it like comparable or whatever? It's like similar-ish.
I think so. I think it's about the same. Like how many subscribers until you have to start like?
I think it's 2,000 is where they cap it out on all these companies.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah, that's more like you said. Like at that point, sure.
But you also don't get like
money to you.
If you pay for like MailChimp took away, now it's a paid thing, but it used to have a thing where it would send out the emails in like small batches. So for example, if you have 1,000 followers, it would send out like 100 at a time. So it's not just,
and now you have to pay for that.
I have to pay for that. I'm just like, come on, man. So it's and again, the whole point of this is your mailing list is important for you to push your ads and your marketing to your
and you have to find the platform that you vibe with.
Well, when I started my Kickstarter, the mailing list is always first. The mailing list is what helped me really kickstart and win the Kickstarter for the book. Then it was Twitter, which is garbage now. Fine. And then it was Instagram, which if you don't pay, it's turned into pay to play.
It's garbage, yeah.
Yeah, you have to pay to play and video. Like we did a Reels, like we did a comparison one day. Because Moose runs the Instagram now, pretty much.
The Reels
if you get a comment,
me.
It's probably and the Reels was like and it was just like me like drawing a line or whatever, which is not a lot to do, but it's a little frustrating that video content is so big right now because it's like I know my growth is not going to be as fast as it could be because I don't have I just don't have it in me to make a bunch of video all the time. So I'm starting to do like small things like I downloaded CapCut and like I'll take quick little videos, just of prints or whatever, or I'll take like photos and then CapCut has like a lot of cool like transition and filter and it goes to this song and then you can put that out there. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking into that to have like video content, but it's kind of frustrating because it's like I don't want to do video stuff.
Well, okay.
But
so
on Instagram, it was like the reels that we posted was like a bunch of like hundreds of views, bunch of like hundreds of likes, and then the same like content as a photo was like 32 likes. Yeah, and I have 18,000 followers, so what the fuck?
Yeah. So okay, so then here's my follow-up question then. Like that's actually really good piggyback then. I can't remember. Like, do you do a lot of shows, Tawny, or have you like scaled back?
Yeah, I mean, COVID made me scale back, but I didn't do a ton before, and now I think I had 4 this year. I didn't get Denver officially rejected me, so I'm not doing Denver this year.
So I know like with like Allen, like he's primarily grown his newsletter through his shows.
Yeah, that's where I get most
and then like Kickstarter. Yeah, so like how this is a question like he and I have like talked about, and I don't think either of us have a very good answer for it yet. But like, how do you plan to like try and grow your newsletter, not through like social media stuff, or like trying to basically keep it so you don't have to rely on social media as much to try and get it to grow? Because you do run into that issue where it's like, yeah, if you're only getting like say a fifth of your followers seeing your stuff on Instagram or whatever, like how can you possibly translate that into like people signing up for your newsletter or whatever?
I mean, I think like in person is just always going to be better. Like, but I'm going back to breaking the like deconstructing from like big advice is like, nobody really ever talks about doing small, tiny little local shows. Like Colorado Springs Comic-Con, it's not the greatest. Like they're doing their best. They're actually doing a lot better than they have in the past. But it's in my town. The table it's comparable to like other cons, but there's no travel cost. Like people will like not do shows in their town that are tiny because it's not really worth it. And it's like, but if there's no travel cost and all it's costing me is like the cost of the table and my time over the weekend, I can still get a whole bunch of new subscribers. So like smaller local shows. I'm talking like the farmers market, as long as it's indoors, because I refuse to do outdoor shows.
I will never do an outdoor show again.
This state has the wind is too much. But like, I'm not even kidding. Like, look into my art's gonna be in a library in a mountain town about an hour from here in June. I'm just gonna put up like prints all along the wall, and I can't sell them directly there, but available here, and it'll have my website. Go to libraries. I'm gonna go to, like indie bookstores want stuff on their walls, like little cafes. They want stuff on their walls, and they want local artists. So like, these are the things I plan to hit, and like going forward. I had to turn down a couple libraries because I was like, hold on a second, I need to do one right now.
I mean, I used to do college shows. Colleges have, I guess you'd call them craft fairs.
Yeah, craft fairs. Like, there's one at the high school that I'm like,
I did a bunch of those back in the day just to get emails. I was also thinking,
I think it gets to a point where we feel like, I'm too big to do that now, and like I don't think that's a good mindset to have.
If we want to, some of us, like me for example, I don't want to do as many shows next year. So I've been looking into potentially hiring. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's hiring like a whole marketing company to like push his product, his company, market it. It's not cheap though. It's like $10,000 a month or something. And his company can make the money. I definitely can't afford that, right? Like, but the goal would be it would help him build that customer base. So he'll make back what he spends. Let's say he does 3 months of marketing with these guys, right? So $30,000, maybe 40. He'll make that back by the end of the year if this company can guarantee good marketing, good advertising, whatever. My friend's product it will move. I've seen him at shows; it moves really well. But will it move through this online marketing in this company? I don't know. If it works for him, I'm like, dude, I don't have $10,000 just to spend on this unless there's some like guarantee that I'll.
No, I think it's like, as far as like online goes, it's really frustrating to try to get more in the online world versus like in shows, right as like everything is collapsing. Right. But like I think, like for instance, I mentioned Discord earlier. Like I'm gonna have my Discord link on my newsletter, so like people can join my Discord. they can go there, you know, or I'll still have like whatever is still available, like Tumblr, I'll still be on there. I'm on TikTok. I don't post like hardly ever, but I'm still on there. So like I'll still do those things. I'm not chasing algorithms though. Like I'm done with that. And at the end of the day, it's like,
so Nelson said he
like
sees...
you have to know what your own priorities are too, right? Like if someone has that business mindset and they have the product that's going to move like that and they can do it,
right,
awesome, baller, like go do it. But like knowing what I want out of life, I don't want
right.
I don't want, that sounds like so much. Like I
I'm
want
like,
a simple life. I
yeah,
want
understandable.
For my friend, I was like, you know, your stuff moves. For me, I was just like, I can move this at a show. I'm not sure this is going to move as well as everybody else. You know, this company might think. So I'm like, I'm not ready for that move. But a quick side note, Nelson said he sees more of Tawny's Instagram posts than mine. So the algorithm likes you.
Because I never post.
Yeah. So
I've posted more lately.
Reels are, when I did Reels for the Kickstarter, I did a bunch of Reels because our friend Nelson and I have a mutual friend, Carrie. He did the voice that sounds like Optimus Prime and all the ads I did. He'll probably do the voice again for the next book, which is coming out, by the way, in about 2 months. I'm going to kickstart it. But the Reels definitely, you know, I put a specific link on there to track it. You can use Bitly and you can track the hits. And the Reels from Instagram brought in more hits, which told me people are watching videos. But again, now they changed this. You have to pay. Twitter, you could sign up for a blue check. It might help you push to the top of the list. But also, people are doing stupid things with that, which really annoys me. So I don't really want to use Twitter because I'm really angry at the whole platform right now.
I'm so mad about the way things are going. I'm not going to get into it, but like, first of all, what Elon's doing with it, I hate it. But like the way people are being on it about that, it's just a mess. I'm just on there vibing. Like you can follow me on Twitter. Like I'm just vibing. I'm like, hey guys, let's all slow down and watch this video for 2 minutes and chill together. Like,
I mean,
that's what I'm doing on Twitter. I no longer yell at people on the internet.
Right. I was gonna say, you and I, you know, I think a couple years ago, like you, a little more than me, we would just post hot takes and get into it. But we've realized that it's totally not worth it.
Miserable.
Yeah, it's not worth it, man.
But the thing is, but here's the thing. I do want to point out that like, I don't fault people for falling into that cycle and that habit, because hot takes and outrageous opinions, they get traction, they get engagement, they get people responding. So I get why people fall into that. And I've seen some of my favorite people fall into a cycle of just hot take after hot take. And I end up having to like mute them because I can't do that anymore. But it's because it does grow your following. But it's like, is that the following? I don't want that following. I don't want people who are mad.
I've lost people in the last couple months because I would post on Twitter for a minute. I was posting my political hot takes, and which is very much against a lot of, you know, the we'll call them the bad guys. And then Instagram, the same thing. You know, like I posted it one day. I posted this thing saying, if you think I care more about my art than I care about people, then you don't realize who I am at all. Like, and I posted that, and I lost a bunch of followers, which I was like, cool.
I mean, you know, and I'll retweet, like I'm not shy about talking about things I believe in, like I'll put it out there, like trans rights, Black Lives Matter, like whatever it is that like I feel is right, I support it. I'll retweet those people. I'll respond in kind. But as far as like hot takes, I've gotten to a point where I realize like my voice isn't needed in every space.
Right. I've been sharing the important stuff, right? Like,
yeah, like I'll share, you know, I'll retweet stuff or whatever. I'll share someone's, you know, they are doing this, that, or the other. But my hot takes were just a white lady on the internet wanting to be heard. And that doesn't need, number one, that's not who I want to be, and it's not necessary. And it was just contributing to the hostility. So I've shifted my focus to vibing and lifting people up and letting other people.
I mean, Tawny even gave me a speech. What was it, yesterday, or the day before? Which like, you need to calm down, man. Like,
I didn't say you need to calm down. I said, you okay?
Yeah, she reached out and said, "Are you okay?" But you did give me a good talk about, you know, I was like in this like mindset of like F everything right now, you know. But then I went to a bookstore, I bought a couple books, and I felt great, you know, like, and I started reading. I'm going to switch the topic to books again real quick to be like, I've been reading just physical. I found I couldn't read my Kindle as much as I used to enjoy it. I used to take the Kindle with me to the park or, when I'm working out or whatever. And I liked it because it's this one small device. It's easy and portable. And I'm kind of a tech junkie. But I also miss actually having an actual book in my hand. So what I've been doing is I've got a book sitting downstairs. I've got a book up here that I'm reading on this nice little stack of books. And then I've got a book downstairs next to, I call it the reading room. It's 2 chairs and a little table. And I leave it down there. So when I have a moment to sit down and read, it's right there waiting for me. And nobody moves it. Nobody touches it. They know it's my book. I hate things being moved, which is a big pet peeve of mine. It looks messy in here, but this is my mess. Like, don't move my stuff around. So even if you move my book a couple inches, it irks the living crap out of me.
We're going to work on that. We're going to work on that.
Yeah, I know not one of you guys is going to mess with me for roommates again, so.
No, I'm not going to mess with you, but we're going to work on that.
I mean, just don't throw your clothes on top of my food and we'll be okay. Not going to call you out.
No, I've definitely, I've gotten way more chill with, everything. But
I think being chill is the way to go, man. I think Andrew is probably, I've heard Andrew's hot takes, but
I was about to say
not. You say stuff in the groups which are all private. You're smart enough not to. Every once in a while, you'll post something on Twitter. I'll catch it.
Yeah,
it's very rare because you're good about keeping it either in our private Discord groups or here in a private conversation, not live, obviously during the show, but you've got good takes, but you will post something occasionally on Twitter, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't have it in me to do that anymore.
I just can't. I don't even
come out of the woodwork sometimes.
Hey, my last hot take was about how I was grousing about digital tablets.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I'm talking about your
anything
wild happening in Florida. The political stuff in Florida because Andrew has to live in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's okay to talk about that stuff sometimes. I'm not saying never. I'm not saying
anybody. Never talk about it. You should talk about it.
And I'm not telling anybody how to operate anywhere because that's not. That's you do you. But for me, not anymore.
I got into that headspace. I don't know, 9-ish years ago or whatever. I got to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna. I'll if I talk to anyone privately, they'll hear what I have to say. They'll
well, that's exactly it.
They'll definitely.
There's no secret the things that I believe in. So
yeah, what's the point of me putting it out there? It's it does nothing. It doesn't contribute anything. It just makes me angry. It riles up someone else or whatever.
And then I get all spun up and I think about it all day, and I just it goes over and over in my head, and I don't. That's not. I am striving for peace in my life, and I want peace for everyone. And I feel like if I want that for everyone, I need to be able to embody that in my own life. And I am fortunately in a position that there's not a whole lot that I have to worry about. So I'm not shading anybody who's is constantly kind of heightened. But I think that I'm not helping anybody by also being that way. Especially, I feel like if I am in a position
Nelson said
where
it's getting hot.
But I feel like if I'm in a position where I can be a chill, soft place to land that's not hostile, and I choose not to be, it's if I'm given this quote unquote gift of not having to worry about, my next meal, or if I'm going to be, harass them or whatever, then I can be a chill place for other people to vent those frustrations, and I can listen and I can be here for it, but I don't need to also be that way. And I noticed about myself, I was also it's almost to fit in and to get those replies and stuff, you have to
it's
elaborate on things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or exaggerate on things. And I think that I see some people get caught in this loop of life will happen, just life, right? Our car, the left tire flew off of it, and it's that's a life thing that happens. And I see people sometimes get in the habit of every single thing that happens, every single quote unquote bad thing that happens, everybody knows about it. And it's used in a way that's look how hard it is for me. My car's tire blew up and I need, you know what I mean? Like, this thing happened, or like, a rock hit my window. Like, stuff happens all the time here that like, I just don't, it's life. It just happens. And like, I deal with it. But I don't want to get in the cycle of like, oh, poor me. Look how hard it is for me. Don't you want to help me? Here, buy some prints. Like,
especially it's like, I don't know.
It's that last line.
It does affect you mentally after a while to just be in that headspace all the time. The next thing you know, you're kind of like, why? Like, it just.
That's why, like, I muted, like, on a quick side note, Nelson, all our websites, which we'll talk about at the end, have newsletters you can sign up for.
Let me know if it works. If it doesn't work, message me somewhere and let me know it didn't work.
If you do want to hear a low stakes bullshit hot take, though, it's our fucking bullshit. It is absurd that it's been like 35 years and we have not perfected this. We are still using what's effectively a ballpoint pen. That's my hot take. I was working on my Cintiq last week and I was like, this is such bullshit that it's still this way.
You were the one that posted that. Somebody, I was like, somebody posted this somewhere.
Counterpoint. Okay. As a traditional ink artist, the best supplies for me are the ones that are just simple. So
to a point. But here, like, all right.
Because we were ranting about how we're still using the same stylus pen. It hasn't evolved in the last like 10 years. There's so much tech out there to make it like better. Make it smoother to work with for starters.
No, I actually have a good point about this. So, current Wacom pens do have pen tilting and rotation functionality. Yes. However, it's a interface problem. The issue is I'm gonna get the Wacom pen. Visual demonstration in this. Here's my issue, right? This is a round cylindrical object. The nib is 3 from the body, so it rotates freely. So I really can't use the rotation function effectively in this, in the same way I could with like an actual pencil, where if I rotate it, I have that tactile feedback of knowing like, okay, I've now rotated now, so I have a sharper line or a flatter line or whatever. They used to have something like this. Back around in 2003, there used to be something called the Wacom 60 Art Pen. And that was the first pen to introduce pen rotation, barrel rotation. The thing about it, though, is it was shaped like a Copic marker. It was a flat cylindrical body, and the nib on it was wedge shaped. So it had a wide flat end and a pointed end or whatever. And the way you rotated it, if you rotated onto that point, it would register it as like a thin line. If you had it and you only drew along the edge of it, it was the same way you would with like a Copic marker, would only produce like a thin hatching line like that. If you did like the wider part of it, it would kind of work like that. And I was like, that was so close to like just even that alone, like in modern day with the amount of pressure sensitivity that we have, that would be a boon to me, because that would instantly give me so much tactile feedback, knowing like, okay, this is how this should work.
This is the Huion pin. I don't know if you can see. I'm gonna use my forehead as a backdrop because I have a big old forehead. But can you see how it's like? And if I push on it, it goes in a little.
Yeah.
So it's got like that is kind of tactile, which I like. So this is the shape of it, and it's so light too.
That has like, here we go.
This looks like a pin.
Like this. Yeah. So like this was pretty much the shape of what the Wacom 60 Art Pen was, where it was a cylindrical thing like that. And then, nope, wrong nib. The nib on the end was it was the nib. But like, if you drew like that, it'd be a thin line, a tiny line.
Yeah.
That'd be your flat one. It was
I didn't realize Wacom ever made a pen like that. That would be nice.
They had a pen like that back around in 2003, which was 20 odd years ago at this point.
It's old.
And they had that, and then what they did, they took like the wrong lesson from it. They implemented the pen rotation stuff into their like regular pens, which is great, because you can get some like interesting things about it, but they didn't bother to take like the tactile feeling of being like, okay, like I know which way I'm oriented. without even looking whatsoever.
Yeah.
I know which way this pen is facing, and I know exactly what kind of line it's going to give me. And not having that within the Wacom pens or even like any digital pen is absurd. It's even absurd to be like, I remember some years back, I think it was Microsoft was prototyping interfacing with a digital brush pen, where it's like little fiber optic fibers that actually would spread along the tablet and would create, the thick and thin lines that way. And just depending on how far away they were splayed from each other would tell it like how thick you would do of a stroke, right? Nothing ever came of it. They did like a few prototypes with it, never went to market or anything. There probably was a tech reason for it, but it's weird that like no one's ever kind of revisited that and be like, we should check on this now that we've had this better. Going to the software side of things, it is absurd that only in the past like 3 to 4 years, we finally have a piece of software that has relatively accurate color mixing. Like, like when you mix like in Photoshop or really any like digital software, if you say mix blue and yellow together, you don't get green, you get gray. You get like a weird little gray mush value kind of thing. It's like, anyone that does anything with paint, you realize like, oh, that's not how that works. But we all adapt to that because like that's digital thing. Some researchers developed a piece of technology called Mixbox, which addressed this very problem. They were like, oh, let's see how we can make this so it actually does mix together to green and all that. And it finally got implemented in Rebel in the 5th edition, Rebel 5. And that is still the only software that
who's using
kind
Rebel?
of tech like that.
I've
been experimenting with it.
Okay.
Experimenting with it, but it's it's like still having to be like, okay, I have to devote some time to switching gears from Photoshop and all that. And I haven't spent enough time with the brushes in that to get familiar with knowing how I can work them the same way I can like a Photoshop brush. But it's just still crazy. It's like Photoshop. You guys buy people all the time.
Adobe doesn't give a crap, man.
Yeah,
and that was the other point I had, where it's like, it's absurd. This is the other. I have a lot of absurdities, but it's odd to me that like Adobe knows for the past like 30 odd years, they know what Adobe is used for primarily.
Yeah, they know people use illustrators.
Yeah, and yet they devote like zero resources to improving the technology for that.
I think that's why they're gonna topple after like Clip Studio and like Procreate and stuff like that are coming up.
Yeah,
Affinity is really. I mean, if you mess with Affinity, it's really close to Photoshop. It's just, it just needs a couple more tweaks, man.
And I know there's things like Krita, which I think actually Krita is pretty robust in terms of like the color mixing and stuff within that. It's been a minute since I've checked it. But yeah, no, it's just odd. It's like all these things. Like I guarantee this technology could have been perfected.
I mean, Nelson's basically saying we should make this pen, which I don't know the first thing about making a pen.
I was gonna say I do not know how to make sand think. About computers, I don't know how to make sand think.
Yeah. But we are a little over time, so we should wrap this up.
Yeah, and ended on the long-winded rant about digital tablets.
Digital pen. I mean, like I've got the Huion. I'm going to set it up this weekend, and that's me.
I love my Huion. I've had it for.
I'm just
not
4 years now.
$3,000 on a new Cintiq, man.
Now, if I'm right.
Oh, the reason I even got the Huion was, speaking of the Wacom pen, I had the Intuos, I think. Yeah, and it was great, but my pen broke, and I needed a new one, and it was going to cost $400, something like that, to replace the pen. And I was like, that's crazy. So I looked around and I watched some review videos, and I got a Huion GT191 for, I think I got it for $500, and it's a display. Yeah. It's like a Cintiq. I mean, It's not, and the thing is too, here's the thing, like, everybody talks about like, oh, the super sensitivity and like the super like graphics or whatever, but like, do you really need that though?
It's kind of like, don't.
Most illustrators, especially like at my level, don't need that.
It's kind of like the difference between like 4 and 8K. It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If they're like side by side, you'll notice it. You're not going to notice it day to day.
You're not going to notice
it. But then when you go to get your prints made, they're gonna look like it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that much. And then when you post it online, nobody's ever gonna see that quality. So why are we spending thousands of dollars? Sorry, my like New Orleans is starting to come out because I'm passionate about people saving a little bit of money. But like, we don't need to spend thousands of dollars to have a Cintiq when Huion and like what are some of the others? X-Pen, that's another, or XP Pen or whatever it is. Like, you don't need like the industry titan level hardware.
Unfortunately, I've
never had a Cintiq in my life. Yeah, and again, it goes back to that whole like, well, this is what everybody has, so I gotta get it.
So like when I bought my Cintiq, it was like, this thing's at least 9 years old now. And when I bought it, it's because in my head everyone's like, you need a Cintiq. It's the best
like $2,700.
I actually $2,100 on this. I started out on a Unova. If you remember Unova, the screen was super thick and it was heavy, and it was like a 14-inch screen, I think, or 16-inch screen. I used that thing for a good year, and then I hated it.
Come to think of it, I wonder. I'll have to look this up later on, but I do wonder like how old Huion and XP Pen are as companies, or even just as their products. I wonder if it's maybe correlating to like, do like Wacom's patents expire?
Something happened because in the last like 2 years,
like now it's kind of like
a bunch exploded.
I mean, Huion is doing really like. So I bought this one because my friend Ben was telling me for Black Friday, this is like a $1,200 screen. It goes on sale for about $700, and so I just bought it because the Cintiq is. I could tell, even at this week I was trying to work on it, it just froze on me. So it's going.
Once mine gives up the ghost, I'll switch over to Huion likely.
So I'll probably set this thing up this weekend, and then I'm sure there's something simple in this thing that could be repaired, but I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
So, but all right. Any last thoughts before we close out? Because now we're definitely 15 minutes over.
I'm currently reading Seven Blades in Black, finally, while listening to.
Finish it. It's so good.
Oh, nice.
The reason I even started reading, the reason I even came to know about it was, I forget who it was that told me that the main character reminded them of me, and I mean, that's just how self-absorbed I am. I'm like, oh, okay, well then let me read it.
I still need to read that series, but now I'm really interested in that thing that Connie was telling us about, the live ships, whatever.
Oh yeah, I wrote it down somewhere.
I think Live Ships Trader. I had it saved on like my iBooks or whatever because I want to pick that up.
I'll look into that. But
it's good.
Yeah,
and the person that's reading, the person reading the audiobook is really good too. I like they're very. I'm very persnickety about like narrators or whatever, like people who read the audiobooks. They got to be good.
Yeah, I mean, if I can't sync with the voice, I'm just like, I'm out.
If I don't vibe with the voice, then I'm done. I think it's because like I have aphantasia, so I don't have visual imagery. But I noticed recently that I have like hyper, like hearing. Like I can hear, like if I were to think about something that Allen is gonna or like said, I can hear it in Allen's voice. But like really well. You know what I mean? And so I think that's like I'm very sensitive with sounds, and I think that's why like it has to be a good audiobook. Like it has to be a good reader.
That's fair.
Nelson has a good point too. He said it should be normal to call audiobook consumption reading because audiobook consumption is dumb to say.
No, I think
it's still reading in my opinion.
You're taking in the story. At the end of the day, it's the story. That's why like people that are like very weird about like physical book versus audiobook or whatever, it's like you're still getting the story though. And I
get
think
to the story however you get to the story.
Yeah.
I wish I could do audiobooks.
I can only do audiobooks when I'm driving.
Yeah, there's definitely.
I cannot listen to an audiobook when I'm up here working. It doesn't fit because I think there's too many distractions in the room with me. I can't listen to it like when I'm working out.
Gotta like block things out. We're working on it, Alan. We're gonna fix it.
Hey man,
it's weird. Like when I listen to like podcasts, I can do that fine. I think it's because it's like conversational stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to Critical Role when I'm working, and that's just people playing D&D and me drawing. But for some reason,
audiobook of like one person reading. Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, I just missed something. Oh, I just missed something funny. Or I missed something serious. But when I'm driving, even when I'm driving, every X I'll find myself going back like 10 seconds or 20 seconds.
You can't. You know you damn well you can't drive unless you're on the phone.
I mean, I call
it's
you
like
when I drive sometimes.
your car is phone call activated. You can't drive
my
unless
headquarters.
You're on a phone call.
Leave my car alone. Leave me alone. But also,
I'm gonna teach you how to drive in silence.
No, audiobooks, man. I just told you. Listen to audiobooks.
I will drive all the way across Kansas in total silence and enjoy every minute of it.
Psycho.
So, Tawny, where can we go to sign up for your newsletter?
TawnyFritz.com, allegedly.
It was working. I checked it.
So hopefully the newsletter part of it works. Yeah,
that's true.
TawnyFritz.com.
Well, Nelson can let us know if the newsletter works.
Yeah, let me know. And then you
Alan,
should get a welcome email. If I set it up right, then you should get one like right away. And then, yeah. So.
Okay. And then, Alan, where can we find your newsletter?
AncientOnes.net. AllenPanakal art on all socials except TikTok because some guy's still squatting on it. But I'm hoping to talk to a friend that works in the securities department there, and hopefully this gets resolved before the end of the year.
Okay.
Do they know it's like someone holding the account, or is it like
so the person? Yeah. So first, TikTok told me real quick. I'll say this to you guys. So first, they know this guy's sitting on it. They said I have to prove it's me. First, they said just show that I copyrighted everything, which I showed them, and then they sent me a message back saying they need to see my trademarks. The trademarks are all slowly pushing through. So as soon as those are done, I can send them the trademarks and then be like, here, I'm copyrighted work, trademarks, my name. It's my name everywhere. I've got videos posted there. This dude's done nothing. I have no idea who it is. I don't know if it's some random person that doesn't like me.
For some reason, I can't change my name back on Instagram to Tawny Fritz. It says that the username's not available. There is no account.
Sitting on it.
Weird.
Yeah, there's no account there. Like I used to be that, and then I changed it at the advice of anyway.
The guy on TikTok literally has my name and one other name, and I'm thinking the other name is him, and zero videos on either one. And I can't message this person because they're not following me. You can only message people that are following you on TikTok. Right. So I went to securities, and I'm trying to see what I can do.
Hopefully that gets resolved. Anyway,
I'm trying not to send a lawyer in. But anyway, Andrew, tell us where we can find your stuff so we can get off this.
asidesart.com. Sign up for the newsletter there. Or you can find me on socials. The same thing, but I would prefer the newsletter.
I'll drop links to all our websites on the bottom of this video, too, so you should be able to just click on them and go.
Yeah.
All right, and give me a second.
Tawny, thanks for coming on.
Yes, appreciate you. We don't have a guest next week, so we'll probably do another...
Me again!
We can get Tawny on again. Oh, actually, yeah. So if we do next week, it'll be early in the week because I'm leaving on vacation at the end, and then our next guest after that is still Stephanie Cook. Hopefully on the 16th of May. I messaged her today. She sounds like she's still good.
Stephanie.
Not the Stephanie you think it is. This is a writer.
I'm sure she's rad too.
She's cool. Hopefully she makes it on the show. She's very busy by the sounds of it. So we'll see. I'm not pressuring anyone to be on it. It's like, show up if you can make it. It'd be cool.
We're breaking kneecaps.
She didn't mean